Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling blockchain. It sounds complex, maybe a bit intimidating with all the tech talk,
It really can, yeah.
but the basic idea, it's actually quite neat. Think of it like a shared notebook, or maybe a group diary.
That's a great analogy. A diary everyone in the group has a copy of. And crucially, no one can secretly go back and change an entry once it's written.
Exactly. Permanent, visible to everyone involved. It's this shared record, but without needing one person or one company in charge.
No central authority. That's key.
And we know you want to get up to speed on this stuff quickly, understand it properly, without getting buried in jargon. So that's our mission for this deep dive.
Absolutely. We'll unpack the basics based on the material shared, look at why it's becoming such a big deal.
Okay, great. So how does this digital diary actually work?
Yeah.
The source of talk about blocks and a chain.
Right. So imagine each block is like a page in that diary. It gets filled up with records like transactions or other bits of data.
Okay, like entries on a page.
Exactly. And once that page, the block, is full, it gets sealed off. It's given this unique digital stamp, like a fingerprint.
A fingerprint. You mean the hash thing?
That's the one, a cryptographic hash. And that stamp links it permanently, mathematically, to the page before it.
Ah, so block after block linked together.
Forming the chain. And here's the really clever bit. This whole diary, the entire chain, isn't stored in just one place.
Oh, where is it then?
It's copied across potentially thousands of computers all over the world. Everyone participating in the network has a full copy.
Wow, okay. So if I tried to, sneak back and change something on page 5.
Well, your copy would suddenly look different from everyone else's copy. The digital fingerprints wouldn't match up anymore, not just on that block, but all the ones after it, too.
And the network would know something's wrong.
Precisely. They'd reject the change.
Yeah.
To successfully tamper with it, you'd have to change that block and all the blocks that came after it on, a majority of the computers in the network all at the same time.
Which sounds incredibly difficult.
It's designed to be practically impossible. That's the security. It's not reliant on one company's firewall. It's secured by this massive distribution.
Okay, I get it. That makes sense. So this security, this transparency, it opens up doors. Let's talk applications. Bitcoin comes up a lot.
Yeah, Bitcoin's the classic example. It uses blockchain to let people send money directly to each other, peer-to-peer.
Without needing a bank in the middle.
Exactly. No intermediaries. Which, isn't just about saving on fees, maybe. It's also about giving people more direct control over their own money. Challenges the old way of doing things.
Interesting. The sources also mentioned tracking products, like organic bananas.
Yeah.
Seems a bit different.
It does, but it uses the same core idea. Think about that unchangeable diary again. You can record every step of that banana's journey.
From the farm.
Yeah, from the farm to the shipping container to the store, maybe even verifying its organic certification along the way. It's all recorded on the blockchain.
So I, as the shopper, could potentially scan a code and see that whole history.
That's the idea. It builds trust because the record is transparent and, again, incredibly hard to fake. Helps combat fraud, proves authenticity.
Okay. And then there was this thing called smart contracts. The car rental example was helpful.
Right. Smart contracts are kind of like automated agreements. They're bits of code stored on the blockchain.
Code that does.
It automatically carries out the terms of an agreement when certain conditions are met. So in the car rental example, maybe the contract automatically releases your deposit back to you the moment the system registers the car has been returned undamaged.
Ah, so no waiting for someone to process it, no arguments maybe?
Potentially, yeah. It executes automatically based on the agreed-upon rules and verifiable data on the blockchain, takes out the middleman, again, and reduces the chance of disputes.
So boiling it down, it seems like blockchain is really about creating trust through transparency, making things visible and verifiable so you don't need to rely so much on intermediaries.
That's a really good way to put it. The coffee example, tracing the beans back to the farmer, that's another illustration of building that trust directly.
And this foundation, it seems like it could be applied way beyond just money and bananas. The sources hinted at, voting, medical records.
Yeah, those are areas people are actively exploring. Imagine a voting system where votes are recorded immutably and transparently on a blockchain, or managing your medical records securely, giving you control over who sees what. Lots of potential there.
It really makes you think. It started with Bitcoin, right? That was the fun fact.
Yep, 2008. The first blockchain was built specifically for Bitcoin, but the underlying tech, this idea of a distributed, secure ledger, has shown it's useful for so much more. Music rights, supply chains, medicine, all sorts of things.
It's quite the journey from digital cash to, well, all that.
It really is. The core innovation turned out to be incredibly versatile.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The main takeaway for you listening is that blockchain offers this really secure, transparent way to keep track of information, of value, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Without having to go through the traditional gatekeepers or central authorities, it sort of distributes trust across a network.
Right. Secure, transparent, distributed.
Exactly. And that leads to a final thought, maybe something for you to ponder.
Yeah.
Well, given that it's so good at building trust and transparency in these new ways, what other parts of your life or, society as a whole do you think could be fundamentally changed by this technology? Where else do we need more trust or transparency?
That's a great question to leave things on. Definitely food for thought.